Hey guys, and welcome to Classics I've Never Watched here on Rotting Flesh Movie Reviews. Endorsed by Powdered Milk. If your milk isn't powdered, then you probably have your life together. Well, we aren't watching Strangers tonight, guys, but we are going to need an adult because we are going to be talking to a stranger on the phone. On a creepy, old phone. Landlines. Ooh. I want to give a shout out to Todd E. Walnuts. He's an awesome YouTuber and a heck of a guy. He shows a wide variety of things. Lots of import horror stuff, like vinyl, like rare vinyl a lot of times, and as well as many other things, a variety of things. I will throw a link below to his channel, which is something I always forget to do when I do these shoutouts. Also known as When a Stranger Rings in the UK, this is a 1979 horror film directed by Fred Walton. There was a made-for-TV sequel and a remake, but I haven't even watched this one yet, so let's get started. So far the movie starts off a lot like Scream and Black Christmas, but mostly Scream. There's a girl named Jill babysitting for a man named Dr. Mandrakis. She starts getting creepy phone calls from this guy who keeps asking if she's checked the children.
Have you checked the children? Have you checked the children? Have you checked the children?
And she doesn't check them, even once.
Why haven't you checked the children?
No, after the fourth suggestion, she actually does go and check on the children. Of course, walking right by a bucket of weapons on the stairs that might come in handy if she, confronts a bad guy. And she also doesn't end up checking on them because the phone rings again. Now I'm getting the feeling that the stranger that's actually calling is like the very first troll. I have to admit though, at this point in the movie, the suspense is so thick that I don't even think suspenders could hold my pants up after this. So she calls the police the first time, and the cop tells her to blow a whistle into the phone to hurt the stranger's ears. The second time she calls, feeling very much more afraid, he says this.
Did you try whistling?
Because we all know when you're in a threatening situation, whistling is the easiest thing to do. I can only whistle inhaling. However, the killer does end up calling back, and even though the movie does a very predictable thing, even though it was executed very well, it basically becomes Black Christmas. The killer is indeed in the house, and we find out has murdered the children. Although I seen it coming, they made it very terrifying the whole time. 7 years later, our killer, Kurt Duncan, escapes from the mental asylum he was held in. Dr. Mandrakis hires a private dick named Clifford to go find Mr. Crazy. We see Kurt Duncan at the bar trying to innocently pick up a girl. I think the audience is somehow supposed to sympathize with him. But anyway, as any child killer has coming to him, bad things happen to him.
Hey, Bill. Bill!
Duncan gets beat up and follows the woman home that he was hitting on. Her name is Tracy. And she doesn't even look at him like he's a weirdo for following her home. Well, until he passive-aggressively makes his way into her apartment where he refuses to leave because he has nowhere to go and really needs coffee for some reason. I have to admit at this point I don't really know where the movie's going. But she makes him leave, and as he does, he just leaves her door slightly ajar. You can tell the guy really wants to kill her, and he's painfully obvious about it. Cliff shows up at Tracy's apartment the next day, and she wants nothing to do with the popo. And I don't blame her, he has like a complete god complex or something.
Have you got a badge?
I'll show you a badge when you open the goddamn door. I don't have a badge.
Hard dicks, bro. Hard dicks. Tracy agrees she'll work with Cliff to catch the weird fella. So they try to set up Kurt, but he outsmarts them.
I know what they're up to. They think I'll lead them to the master. I must outsmart them. Lost him.
Really, he doesn't. Tracy just screams and Kurt runs away. Kurt decides to get all sweaty and decides to do his best Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer impression. And I don't want to spoil the ending to this movie because it's actually pretty awesome. This movie was directed really well. The lighting and sets were fantastic. The shots were very effective, but the best ones were the ones where they shot where the killer may be. Like you're looking at his victim through the window, but really he's inside the house. So it's just like a paranoid sense that he could be anywhere. Which is another thing. I kept looking behind all the characters for fear that something was going to come out of the background. Nothing ever did. There were a few blurry shots, but nothing too crazy. The writing actually, although predictable at times, surprised me, and it kept the film very suspenseful. The characters were written pretty well too. There was time to get to know them. I have to admit that I was not expecting this to be a psychological horror film. I was expecting a slasher movie, but it was a psychological horror film. The acting was good from all angles. There was not one bad showing. The girl who played Jill, while not only pretty smoking hot, is really good at crying. She can cry amazingly well. I don't think I've ever seen her in anything before. Please let me know if you have. She's really good. The characters were all likable and relatable one way or another. The effects in this flick were pretty much non-existent because they relied more on atmosphere through direction and music. Which brings me to the music. Fuck if this music did not make me even more on the edge of my seat than I already was. The whole time I watched it, I had my headphones in, and every time the score came on, it made me want to take my headphones out because the score was so just bone-chilling. Can I recommend When a Stranger Calls? Oh, fuck yeah. It's almost perfect. There was a couple scenes, like one or two, that I might have changed, but for the most part, the movie just kept me right on the edge of my seat the whole time. With a strong beginning and a strong ending, you really can't complain. I give When a Stranger Calls a 9 out of 10, and that's just being picky, probably. I think it really is a genius film, and I think it's really underrated, mainly because no one ever said, aside from Justin, hey, watch When a Stranger Calls. You guys, why didn't you say nothing? Bye, you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'm probably going to throw this phone away that I'm recording on after watching this movie. That Magic Production.